Hello and welcome to Cricket and Wrestling for Us. And today we have our usual correspondent, Aman, to discuss this week in wrestling. First off, Aman, how you doing, man?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Just, it's very busy looking at all of this wrestling in one day, talking about it in a small amount of time. So I don't want to waste much of your time or anyone else's. So first off, everyone, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And let's get into it. Let's start off by talking about the worst show of them all, WWE Raw, right? I must say, one thing that they've done right, and even though I know we discussed this before, that Seth Rollins and Big E, could that program work? I think this program could work, 100% work, because of the weird and eccentric nature of Seth Rollins now. It's great to watch, honestly. I never expected Seth Rollins to be this entertaining, but he's entertaining as anything. And then obviously Big E is doing Big E things. He's the WWE champ. Thankfully, for everyone's sake, there was no Oldberg on this week's Raw. Happy, man. Happy with that. But yeah, man, I'm liking the WWE Championship kind of path they're kind of forming. I don't think there's any other pay-per-views barring Survivor Series now until Survivor Series in November. And then we've got day one at the start of January. They don't have any other pay-per-views, so they could potentially stretch this feud up until Royal Rumble. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we mentioned it last week or the week prior, but I saw something on social media this week that said that Seth Rollins has quietly become like an MVP of this year, and I completely agree. I think he's such a fascinating, entertaining character, especially this whole sleazy slime ball visionary character that he's got going on.
Yeah.
And just from the way he dresses with those outlandish jackets and dancing and the music and the maniacal laugh. So yeah, I've really been enjoying that, and I do think that Big E Seth feud will be entertaining. They've got so much chemistry, and I think if people go back on YouTube or on the network and just watch their interactions when Seth was with the Authority and Big E was still with the New Day, but just their backstage interactions. There's so much chemistry, so much comedy that they played off each other, which was just really, really entertaining to see. And I just think that this was, out of everybody in that ladder match, this was the correct pick, because he's your only heel. He was your only heel in that match. In Kevin, Ray, they were all baby faces, and you don't need another baby face to face another baby face to help get Big E over. You need a clean cut heel. I thought the match was brilliant. Some of the bumps that those guys were taking was just insane. Particularly Seth, who'd just been in like a Hell in a Cell match a few days prior. His body must be in just all sorts of pain. Like, I can't even imagine what he must feel like getting up in the mornings.
All he'll be thinking is, where is the ice pack? Where is the ice pack? I need it so much. And yeah, that ladder match was just that was of another level. That match, again, Raw was, no offense, Raw was the worst show of the week, but that was the highlight of that particular show. I thought that ladder match was absolutely brilliant. In terms of, the rest of the show, we can talk about Becky Lynch and, Bianca Belair. That's going to go ahead. You're going to have Survivor Series. They're not going to have a match against each other. And once again, both of these feuds might just last the next 2 to 3 months, I feel, until, Royal Rumble begins. And it's good in a way that they have some sort of vision. But with WWE, we've seen a lot of wacky things happen. Like, what's his name? Keith Beercat Lee.
Yeah.
You know about him? You know about that guy?
I've heard about him, yeah.
What have they done to this guy, man? I used to love Keith Lee. One, he's now a heel. Why? Right? And now he's a Bearcat. I never heard of the word Bearcat before, right? To me, it was like, it's a bear or it's a cat. He's a Bearcat? Just because he's a big dude, he's a bear. And it's just so mind-boggling. I feel like they've just messed up that entire person. Same thing with Karrion Kross. And there's a lot of people saying, oh, Karrion Kross could be fixed by one thing, Scarlett, right? One thing you put next to him, everything could be easily done and make it just revert back to what he was like in NXT. They've spoiled a lot of wrestlers, but I know that's me being too negative, but that's the truth. Is there any saving of, Keith, Bearcat, Lee?
Well, I think the Bearcat thing is like a throwback to a wrestler from the past who had that name.
I know, but still.
But like we said on this show before, it's Vince's show. He signs the checks, and he thinks that the presentation of a Keith Lee, of a Karrion Kross, of any other NXT call-up is not going to get over on the main roster, then he's going to make changes to it. Whether those changes are something people agree with or not, I think the argument is he doesn't let the NXT incarnation of those characters fester on Raw. Or
man, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Austin Theory, they've done perfectly. He just thrashed Rey Mysterio's kid in the this week, and I was like, interesting. They're actually putting him correct. Same thing with Damian Priest. I think Damian Priest they've put really well on the main roster as well. So it's very up and down. It's so inconsistent.
But I think it's just something. If Vince finds your character from NXT, the transition onto Raw or SmackDown, if he finds it entertaining, if he thinks it's got legs, will not modify it, then you're lucky in that sense. But if it doesn't, then he's going to make tweaks to it. And like we've said before, it's his show, it's his bat, his ball. He's going to do what he likes. Just quickly wanted to talk about the Charlotte, Becky, Bianca whole feud thing. I know we discussed it last week that it's been all over social media that they do not get along. They went off script with the swapping of the title segment. But if that was me, that is a ready-made story there and there, ready for you on a plate. This whole Becky Bianca thing, I think it's done. It's not really helped either woman. I don't think Becky is over as a heel, as many people would have liked her to have been. Bianca is still over, but every time she loses, she loses credibility as a babyface. They need time apart from each other. And if the story is true that Charlotte and Becky don't like each other, then that's a story there, ready and willing for you to do.
Think Edge, Lita, and Matt Hardy. That was a real thing.
Exactly. And even if it isn't a real thing, the perception is that they don't like each other. Like to you, me, every other person on watching wrestling thinks they don't like each other. And if I was Vince or if I was the creative team, I'd be like, well, great. There is money to be made there. That is the whole point of this game, is to make people think that they do not like each other and they want to fight. That's where the money is to be made. So if I was Vince, I would be like, this is money on a plate. Let's run with it.
Agreed. 100%. I was going to touch upon Charlotte Flair later, but I'm glad you mentioned now because the part I want to talk about, we'll talk when we discuss SmackDown. But I think overall, even though Raw was better than usual, it was just not it's 3 hours. It's too long. But that's a different thing. But all in all, I agree with you in your sentiments completely with regards to, that's a ready-made story. You got freaking Survivor Series coming up. Why are you not utilizing this? Brand warfare is a thing they love. Why not utilize it based on, actual rivalries and stuff? But let's see how that actually transpires. I want to talk about NXT Halloween Havoc because goodness me, that was a show and a half. I know this might be very controversial. For me, best show of the week, all right? Forget the backstage segments, but the way certain things were handled. I was surprised. I was entertained. And on top of that, the most importantly, Tommaso Ciampa did not lose to Braun Breaker. All right. But everyone else, all the other champions actually lost. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Did you think Raquel Gonzalez was going to lose? Because that was the shock of the night for me. That was a shock and a half. I was like, what? Mandy Rose, she's the NXT Women's Champion. Like, how did this happen? Like, Toxic Attraction are now holding all the belts, right? And in a way, I'm glad, because that was probably the idea, right? They become a unit, or they become a team, and then they could go after the specific titles, and they've won them now. They could be, and again, I'm just using this example as a loose example, they could be similar to the Shield, where you have one it's a loose example, where you have one who's the main champion, and then you got two tag team champions, right? Or fine, you could use Undisputed Era as an example, all right? Okay, so I'm liking that kind of dynamic, and I don't know where they're going to go, because I didn't think Gonzalez was going to lose, but could she be moving up to the roster, to the main roster? Is that why she probably lost?
I agree with you in terms of the show. I thought it's probably the best show they've produced since the revamp. I really enjoyed it. The ladder match I thought was brilliant. That bump that Io Shirai took, where I think it was her face.
I think it was real. I don't even know if it's a bump. I thought it was,
I was really concerned for her. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Just wow. But yeah, I was very surprised with the title changes, the women's title change, and the women's championship change. I can see why you've done it, because you've brought Dakota Kai back, and you're just kind of
great.
Which is great. But you're further developing that story. But as I said before, I still need some time. I've not fully invested in Mandy Rose. I don't think she deserved to have the rocket put on her and become champion like that. I just think she, in terms of her in-ring work,
she's not great.
A lot of work in comparison to other people who've held that championship, like your Asukas and your Beckys and your Sashas and Shayna Baszler and
Io Shirai.
Rhea Ripley. In comparison to those champions of the past, whose in-ring work was just stellar. I just think it's different from NXT of old, where the in-ring work and the character work were kind of like together on the same track. Whereas this, I think the character work is a bit lagging, but the creatives seem to like the character and they like the story and the faction and everything. So that's where they've gone. In terms of Raquel, I think once this feud with Dakota Kai is over and done with, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw her on Raw or SmackDown. I enjoyed the Halloween house thing. I thought that was quite funny. I didn't get the ending, because they escaped unscathed. Sure, they were shook up and scared and everything, but they didn't get hit or attacked by the zombies or anything.
Because the thing is, Halloween is just about scaring you. It's not about beating you senseless. I think that was the
a few hits and misses. Like, I'm not sure if you saw the match last year between Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes. Like, those zombies were all over him.
Yeah.
So I just felt like that was a bit deflated.
Calm down, because he's now married, Aman. That's why. And Johnny's like, no, dude. Just chill. Just scare him. Just boo.
Well, yeah, it's the wrestling's the father-in-law, son-in-law.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. Surprisingly, I'm enjoying that facet of NXT 2.0 a lot more than I was liking just the NXT one. Just one more thing about Halloween Havoc that I wanted to ask you. What did you think of the main event? Like I mentioned, I was happy that Tommaso Ciampa won, but dude, that was a match and a half. It's great how they've actually preserved the guy who lost, right? Because Vince McMahon, no offense, Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, you can't do it on the main roster, but you've done it here, right? He's won with his actual finisher. Yes, he's bleeding. Yes, they moved the mat and everything. But again, in the end, the right person won. But I did not think that Braun Breaker's a weakling. I thought, dude, he went to hell and back, and he's still here. It's great. It was exactly what needed to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I do think that right person went over. I think it was about 50-50 before heading into the match that, okay, they might strap him, okay, they might hold off on it. And I think we discussed that last week as well. I think they copied AEW in that sense, in the booking style, in that you can either get the win or you can become an even bigger star by losing. If you go back and watch that Britt Baker Thunder Rosa match, even though Thunder Rosa won that match, who has benefited the most out of those two people? Who is the women's champion right now? It's Britt Baker. So she, in my eyes, I think this has done more to help the stock of Braun Breaker, because now people are invested in him. Now people know that, okay, this guy can take a beating. He comes back. He keeps being seen as the underdog, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
When you're trying to build a new star like that, you want to root for him. You like Rocky. Everybody was rooting for Rocky even more when he kept getting beat up and coming back and kept getting beat up and coming back. That's the type of emotional investment you want in somebody. And when he does eventually become champion, which is inevitable, that payoff is going to be even greater.
Yeah.
So yeah, completely agree with that booking decision, and that match was brilliant.
Yeah, agreed. That's good. Good. We're down 2 shows, 3 more to go. Let's start. Let's go on to WWE SmackDown. So first off, spoiler alert, no Brock, no Roman. So my first expectation was going to be, if there's none of those guys, why am I even going to watch this show? This show's going to be horrible. Nope. It had a couple of interesting twists, which I might not agree with, but it was a surprise. Shotzi becoming a heel, beat up Tegan Nox, then thrashing Sasha Banks. Like, is Sasha going to be a babyface on SmackDown? Like, I don't know what's going to happen, because Shotzi lost to Charlotte, basically, and then went off the rails. Like, I understand the story they're going with, but Sasha's a much better heel than face. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. She's much more comfortable and much more over as a heel. I just think it comes naturally to her as being as a heel. I don't know what they're doing. Is the clear, honest answer? I don't know. I think they're just sticking things and throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. With the women, I don't think we've ever seen a babyface. A heel Shotzi. She was always a babyface on NXT. So we'll see how it goes. I think every time there is a turn, you have to give it some weeks to play out to see how the things develop. One thing I will say, which was just lazy booking, is what they're doing with Mustafa Ali. I mean, how many times are you going to use this? Oh, I'm a Muslim. The Americans against Muslims. That narrative, or well, not just Americans. The West is against Muslims. How many times are you going to use that narrative?
Every single time, Aman.
It is just the most laziest, uncreative booking. And I can imagine Ali going in the creative meeting, being told what he's doing, and just going, ugh.
I could have gone to AEW.
Yeah, again, this is what is happening to me.
Oh my!
That's my rant for that.
The thing is, with regards to that, I thought they were going to do that anyway. Like, that's like Crown Jewels happened. You're not going to see Mansoor for a while properly.
Until the next one,
until February. So he'll jump up in the Royal Rumble, right? And then whenever the next show is, Drew McIntyre, the way he's going to have open challenges without having a title. It's great. It's a very Kurt Angle of him, or John Cena of him to do that. And I think that's the right way to build a face on SmackDown. Because yes, you're gonna have Roman Drew eventually, right? You're gonna have that battle, but have Drew take over and beat every single heel who comes across him, or a challenging face like Finn Balor or Kevin Owens, or someone like that. I know they're not on the show. I'm just giving an example, but Drew McIntyre's role on SmackDown makes more sense than his role was on Raw before the draft. So I'm quite happy about that. And then I just want to quickly touch upon the New Day and the Usos. They've fought each other or had a wrestling match like a gazillion times. This was once again a masterstroke because they could put these 4 guys in the ring and the match is always going to be entertaining. So I was very happy about, them going with this. Yes, it was the main event. Yes, it's actually potentially for Survivor Series. That's the idea, isn't it? But they're going to have the same match at Survivor Series, which is what annoys the hell out of me. But overall, I'm quite happy with, the Usos and New Day actually having matches every few weeks because, it's an entertaining bunch of guys doing not the same thing. Like, I'm surprised how they can always make the match different every single time they wrestle each other. It's great to watch. So any thoughts about those guys?
I think you can watch those guys wrestle over and over again. You'll never get bored.
Yeah.
They are that good. Their chemistry is that good, and they are always adding new layers and new wrinkles into their match. So every match is different. Yeah. It's not the same stuff over and over again. In terms of a story, I think you need to add new layers and new wrinkles just to make it entertaining. But I think that this is the hottest run the Usos have been on in their career in WWE. The bloodline, the heel run, the tag team championships, everything. And then their brother, I didn't even know they had a brother, debuted.
Halloween Havoc.
Yeah. So that family just keeps giving and giving and giving to wrestling. And it's just like they're a dynasty, that family. Yeah. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just entertainment on top of entertainment when it comes to the Usos and the New Day.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Aman. Let's move on to AEW and AEW Dynamite, which was Dynamite, Bonfire Night, Halloween.
Let's be a bit more creative with the puns here.
Hey. I had to bring some Vince into a wrestling show which didn't have any Vince in. But yeah, okay. So for me, Dynamite, there's loads of great things happening. The way Moxley's being portrayed, thrashing people quite easily. Then you have Chris Jericho. You have Sammy Guevara with the TNT Championship. That match against Ethan Page, that was fantastic, right? The way these guys move just blows my mind. They're just outstanding beyond belief. And I'm just going to mention this one thing because to me, this was, even though I said Halloween Havoc is the best show of the week, but this was the match of the week for me, which was the Dark Order versus the Elite. Dude, this was so funny. This was so good. Like, so put out. Like, honestly, didn't expect it. The way the Elite kind of first beat the hell out of Dark Order and the costumes everyone had, right? Then every setup they had the whole thing where all the people from both tag teams jump into the ring. They have battles, right? The referees on the ground, and then there is a Trojan horse that comes out. Right? I love this. The Trojan horse comes out. They beat the hell out of the Trojan horse, and then they're like, "Oh, we know this guy. He's actually part of the Elite."
He's our guy.
And then one of the Young Bucks is looking the opposite direction. And then the Ghost or the Marshmallow Man, whatever he's called, right? Yeah. Comes up, takes his head off. And it's Adam Page. I was losing my mind. I loved it. Absolutely loved it, man. So yeah, AEW Dynamite, I'll let you go, but just wanted to mention that before I let you speak.
No, I agree with you. I really enjoyed that match, and they came out to like the Ghostbusters theme, and they had the jackets with the whatever the compactors or whatever they're called on their backs, and they did that they just jump backwards on them, so the compactors hit the Dark Order in the face. Yeah, I really enjoyed that with Hangman Page and with Marshmallow Ghost, whatever you want to call it. That was really good. And I think it's just something light for me to be expected in the occasion. I thought it was really good. They have a lot of chemistry, the Dark Order and the Elite. Really enjoyed that match. I'll be very, very disappointed if Hangman Page does not win.
He's not gonna win. I don't think he's gonna win.
This is everything is leading up to a Hangman Page title win. In terms of other stuff, I thought the Darby MJF stuff was good.
That's always great.
How MJF gets away with saying what he says on national television, I do not know. I don't know if Tony Khan has just told like TNT executives he's just going to say whatever he wants, but it just helps him get even more hated than the last week. That match will be good between MJF and Darby Allin at Full Gear. Again, I thought the CM Punk Bobby Fish match was good.
I just want to say one thing while we're on the CM Punk Bobby Fish match. I expected that match to be really, really good. It was better than that, right? I didn't expect it to be of the level that it was. I thought it was really effective booking as well. The way correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby Fish kicked out at like 4.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, hey, interesting. That's an interesting story. So I'm going to enjoy where this might actually, I don't think this is the end deal of as Punk versus Fish. I think this might go on for the next few weeks at least. It'll be great if they have some sort of really cool match at Full Gear. But again, that's my WWE thinking and rematches and all that stuff. I want to address one thing, and I know I interrupted you, but dude, Cody Rhodes came out and absolutely blasted us all, guys, right? That was that was one of the best promos or realistic or fourth wall breaks that I've seen in a wrestling show in a very long time. Because Homelander, we were doing all that, and he's like, you can boo me, you can cheer me. And then, like, the way he brought it back was great. Like, personally, I loved it. And then it was, what is it? Yes, I don't like the fact that Malachi Black is still in the story and Andrade and all that stuff. And yes, obviously you're gonna boo Andrade. Like, there's no way you're ever gonna cheer Andrade because he's the heelest heel that I can think of after MJF on on AEW, right? Well, actually, the Elite is, but that's besides the point. Anyways, like in terms of single stars, but I think the way Cody Rhodes did that promo, the way that entire piece was done, I'm very excited about it. Yes, Pac came to save him as well. That story's gonna continue, but the essence of that entire segment was that initial promo. So what were your thoughts on, Cody?
Well, I have a different opinion to you. I mean, I agree with you in the terms of the promo. But look at who his dad was. The American Dream, probably the greatest promo guy in the business. So in terms of manipulating a crowd like that, I think Cody is a master. He knows what he's doing. But the fact that he says, "Oh, I will not turn. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that." Well, and especially that crowd that you are catering to, that 18 to 49 demographic. That's going to be incredibly difficult to stay relevant as a babyface with that crowd. I don't think I personally am not invested in that character anymore if it stays in this current incarnation. And that banner that just came on the screen, I do that's where it's going to head eventually. Ultimately, if that's the way this character stays, then that's fine. But I will not be invested in that character. The only reason I am interested is because of the people he's feuding with. Malachi Black, Andrade, Pac. I agree with you. I think, okay, if your end game was you wanted to get Cody his win back, then that happened last week, and their story should be over and done with.
Yeah.
If this turns into what I think it will turn into, a tag team match between Pac and Cody against Malachi and Andrade,
Yeah.
and if Cody and Pac go over, then you can see what is happening. The comparisons that Cody is the new Triple H with the shovel, just burying the new stars, holds true.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is my feelings on Cody at this point in time.
No, fair enough. I finally we had a disagreement, which is great. But I get where you're coming from. I think I understand where you're coming from. I personally loved it though, because I was like, I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, they're going to listen to everyone, and he's gonna go heel. But he's like, nope, I'm staying face. Do whatever you want. Boo me, cheer me. But you know what? I'm gonna cheer you guys up. And then like it was great. Like I loved it personally.
What are you achieving by that? That's not the point. You are either supposed to be
Entertainment,
loved,
Aman.
yeah, you're
Entertainment.
either supposed to be loved or hated, not in the middle.
That's true. I think someone else told me, like, well, I was watching something and they said he always comes through the middle. Like, you've got the face entrance and the heel entrance at the start, right? Of AEW's like big stage, and he always comes through the middle because he's like, I can be either. I am both. I am Charlotte Flair of AEW. I can be a heel.
I understand that. I can see the point where there's like, oh, he comes through the middle,
Yeah.
but there's black and white. Okay, there is elements of grey. You have cool heels. You have people that are cheered. Like Adam Cole is supposed to be a heel, but people still scream his catchphrase whenever he does it in the arena. That I can make my peace with.
Yeah.
But your character, I think people still say yes, he's a heel, so they know that he is a bad guy. But Cody is just in the middle. It doesn't make it. It's just frustrating. That's all.
No, I get you. I don't disagree with you there at all. Last thing I want to talk about is AEW Rampage. All right, that's a quick show. That's a very quick show. You got Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston. That match was really good. There's no arguments there. That was such a good match. It was so technically sound. And in the end, what was it? I can't remember what it was, but the way it ended, obviously Bryan was going to tap him out, right? But it just worked. It flew so well that at the end of it, I was like, yeah, this is a great match. Like I expected nothing less, but it was a very, very good match. I was very happy with it. And again, you have different segments. Like Rampage is so short. There's no real need to kind of go into too much detail. But I just think Bryan Danielson, star of the show, man. Like the way he wrestled is great. And then Dante Martin, I think the Leo Rush's protege or whoever, he's got some moves. He's got some dives in him that just make you go, he's just great, man. So yeah, thoughts on Rampage?
That match between Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston, some of the shots they were taking, like that flying back fist that Kingston hit straight onto Bryan Danielson's face. I mean, his chest was literally cut. You could see cuts on his chest. Some of they were really laying their punches and kicks in. So I think that was the match of the night for me. But I think Bryan Danielson, since coming to AEW, is having the most physically demanding matches ever since I've seen, in my estimation. To be fair, I enjoyed the Britt Baker Abaddon match in the sense that from the facial expressions to the way that Abaddon plays her character, that she was just not going down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the Matt Sydal match. I don't have any other complaints about Rampage. I thought that was really good. And I just thought I'd flip it on you and ask you this time, who was your wrestler of the week and what was your moment of the week?
Oh, that's a tough one. I wasn't planning on doing this. You put me on the spot, right? So let's go. Moment of the week for me has to be Hangman Adam Page taking off the thing and then just beating the bejesus out of everyone. That was great. That was great for me. In terms of wrestler of the week, right? So it's a toss-up. Personally, I think it's a toss-up. And people might completely disagree with me on this, right? But I think Bryan Danielson or Bryan Danielson, or what's his name? I forgot his name. Tommaso Ciampa, right? Because I think the Tommaso Ciampa, it just reminded me of his match against Johnny Gargano like a few years ago, where he's sitting cross-legged and he's like laughing because he like beat Gargano or something. So Ciampa or Danielson, it has to be one of them for me. Like, I'm gonna give it to Danielson just because AEW bias, and those matches are just crazy. But it has to be one of them at least.
I agree with you. I agree with you in terms of the Bryan Danielson match. I thought that I was going to give it to that ladder match on Raw, but then when I saw this Bryan Danielson Eddie Kingston match, I thought that was just so in your face.
Yeah.
And then the moment of the week, I agree with you in the Hangman Page. It was just a light, fun, funny thing. So I agree with you on that.
Fantastic. Well, you flipped it on me, so I'm glad about that. Thank you very much, Aman. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please do leave comments and tell us your suggestions. Talk to us, and we'll reply as much as we possibly can. And yeah, until next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.